What up, meal prepping fanatics? It's Bobby, and today we are gonna do some healthy and delicious meal prepping for weight loss, and I'm taking on a classic comfort dish and making it light and tasty because we are making turkey meatloaf, loaded with veggies, a classic ketchup glaze, and baked in the oven, and served with cauliflower rice pilaf loaded with vegetables to make it crazy lean. So if you guys want meal prepping that's all about the food, baby, and not some guy teasing his abs or some girl teasing her boobs on the thumbnail, subscribe to my channel. I'm rocking out new meal preps every Friday morning, and I want you to join the Flav City community. Let's get the turkey meatloaf started because I'm hungry. I'm preheating a large nonstick pan over medium-high heat. I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and then a whole mess of veggies. I have red bell peppers, celery, carrots, and onions. Hit it up with half a teaspoon of salt and a few cracks of pepper. Now, if you're thinking that's a lot of vegetables, you are 100% right. That is a boatload of vegetables. But after about 15 minutes, it's gonna cook down by at least half. Plus, I wanna make this turkey meatloaf as nutrient dense as possible. So, while that's doing its thing, I'm gonna grab a bowl of 1.5 pounds of extra lean ground turkey. This stuff is awesome for our meal prepping weight loss because it's really low in fat and really low in calories, but it's also really low in flavor because there's not a lot of love going on in there. So I'm gonna fix that by adding a big old pinch of salt, about 1 teaspoon total. And then normally I save the ketchup part for the glaze, but because the turkey is crazy lean, this is gonna add some much needed moisture and a little bit of flavor. So let's squeeze in about 1/4 cup. Shake in about 1 tablespoon of parsley, a few cracks of pepper. The egg's gonna be kind of a culinary glue that binds everything together. I'm gonna push this aside, check on our vegetables. They still need another 10 minutes, but right now I'm gonna add a nice shake of dried thyme. I'd say about half a teaspoon will add a good amount of flavor. Now after 10 minutes, check out my pan. See how everything is really starting to wilt down? That's what I wanna see. Now I'm gonna grab 3 cloves of garlic that I finely minced and get that in there. You'll always see me adding garlic after the heavier vegetables have cooked a little bit, because if you add that in the beginning, it might burn, and burnt garlic tastes nasty. So always add it towards the latter part of the cooking process when you have hearty vegetables. Now that, you guys, is what I mean by wilted down. Check that. And that's literally gone down by maybe 3/4 of the way. That is done. Let's kill the heat. I'm gonna take this off the heat now because I want it to cool down a little bit before I add it to the turkey. I also forgot to add about 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce to this mixture. This stuff is gonna add so much flavor. It's like umami in a bottle. It's just, you cannot make meatloaf without a shot of Worcestershire sauce. All right, let's make the glaze to go on top of this meatloaf, and I'm an all-American guy from the Midwest, so I'm making an all-American classic ketchup glaze to go on top of this bad boy. I'm gonna start by grabbing more ketchup and squeezing in about half a cup in here. And then add 1 tablespoon of Tabasco sauce or chili sauce. And then because I want it to get really sticky and glazed when it's in the oven, which by the way you want to preheat right now at 350 degrees, I'm gonna add a couple teaspoons of agave nectar. You could also use honey, but I like agave because it's lower on the glycemic index, and 2 teaspoons will do you proper. And then give it a whisk up. Now I let the veggies cool down for about 5 minutes because number 1, I don't want to burn my hands off when I mix it, but number 2, if the veggies are too hot when you add them to the raw meat, you could start breeding bacteria in the turkey, and that could make you sick later on, especially if you didn't cook it immediately. So it's a good idea to let the veggies cool down just a wee bit. And the only way to mix up this huge bowl of deliciousness is to do it the old-fashioned way and get dirty, yo. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's super cool we're taking what normally is a rich, fatty, caloric meal like meatloaf and rice and turning it into something that is perfect for weight loss, light, and the calories per meal are under 400. But for the full macros, check out the description box. I'm gonna grab a loaf pan here and transfer the turkey mixture to this. Now, I don't always use a loaf pan when I'm making meatloaf, but the ground turkey mixture with the veggies is really soft. So if you do it freestyle on a sheet tray, it might flatten out a little bit when you're cooking. So I recommend getting a loaf pan. If you guys don't have one, I'll put a link down below in the description box. That looks good. And the beauty of using a loaf pan also is that the sides of the meatloaf are gonna get nice and caramelized. And I love those kind of crispy bits. Now I'm gonna grab the ketchup and agave and chipotle glaze here and just pour some over the top. And just even it out with a spoon. And you know what? I may have gotten sent home on Cutthroat Kitchen on the Food Network for a classic ketchup meatloaf, kind of like the one I'm making right now. But you know what? That ain't gonna stop me, yo. Can't stop, won't stop. Meatloaf for life. All right, let's park this loaf o' meat in the oven for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. While the meatloaf is cooking, let's get started on our cauliflower rice pilaf. I'm preheating a large pan over medium-high heat. I'm gonna drizzle in 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And then once again, I'm trying to pack as many veggies as possible. So I have a bunch of mushrooms, asparagus, yellow squash, and onions. Let's toss that in the pan. Pinch in half a teaspoon of salt, a couple cracks of black pepper, and then shake in half a teaspoon of dried thyme. Now the mushrooms are gonna give this a really meaty flavor. And for the shrooms, I'm using a cremini mushroom, AKA a baby bella or a baby portobello. Don't use white butt mushrooms. I find they have no flavor at all. What I like to do is pop the cap off. Don't use this part. And then rock your knife through and make it nice and thin. 'Tis the season for asparagus right now. They're really fresh, they're really cheap, and they will actually tell you what part you want to use and what part you want to throw away. So grab it in the middle like this and just bend it. This part is really tough and woody. You really don't want to eat that. This guy is the tender one. And by doing one, I pretty much know on the rest of the bunch here where I want to cut them. So I'll take my knife and I'll just cut through, but you can save it to make stocks or soups out of. Is I like to keep the tips whole and then do a diagonal pattern for everything else. I'm gonna cook these vegetables once again for a good 10 minutes until they really cook down. And basically a pilaf or a rice pilaf is anytime you cook rice with veggies. I'm not gonna use white rice because that would jack up the calories and the carbs off the charts. So I have 1 head of cauliflower here that I kind of cut into large chunks, and we're gonna rice this. It's one of my favorite culinary mind freaks ever. I'm telling you, there's very little difference, and it's tricked many people into thinking it's actually rice.
Especially your dad.
Especially my dad, but he's older, so that doesn't count. He gets tricked very easily. All right, so grab a box grater, use the largest holes here, and then just grate it. And then check that out. All this beautiful cauliflower rice, just like that. Now in the grocery store, I've seen cauliflower rice already done for you. So if you want to be a lazy butt, you have my blessing to do that. Just know you're going to pay a lot more. So the extra work might actually be worth it. Now check out these vegetables, you guys. It's been about 7 or 8 minutes, and check how they've just wilted down. And the veggies are mostly water, so after they've gone down this much, I'm gonna add 3 cloves of garlic that have been finely minced. This is actually the first time I think I've used mushrooms in a recipe, and I already know there's a handful of you guys out there who are saying, I don't like mushrooms, can I leave them out? Yes, you could always leave something out of the recipe if you don't want it, especially mushrooms, except for cauliflower. Then it wouldn't be rice cauliflower. Now check out the vegetables. That's what you want to see. They're really cooked down. Now I'm going to scoop up all of this cauliflower rice and add it to the pan. Then I want to think about seasoning, right? So that's bland. So go in with a pinch of salt, a couple cracks of pepper, give it a nice mix up, and already it's looking like a rice pilaf, right? And to cook this cauliflower, I'm going to take a big old lid here and slap it down. My goal is to just steam the rice for about 3 minutes. I want to get that raw kind of edge, that raw flavor out of the cauliflower, but be careful to not overcook it. Just like rice, soggy, overcooked cauliflower rice is so 3 or 4 minutes, I'll check it. All right, you guys, 3 minutes later, look at the color in this pan. I just love that. First of all, it screams that it's healthy. It screams, eat me. And speaking of, I do need to eat it right now to check it for seasoning. So let me grab a scoop. Perfectly seasoned. The rice is still a little crunchy, a little al dente, not soggy. Now the only thing that can make this better, let's see if we're on the same wavelength, lemon and zester. A little bit of lemon zest will kick up the flavor. Then about 1 tablespoon of freshly chopped chives and the same amount of parsley. That lemon zest gets so floral when it hits the heat, you guys. That is nice. Check out that pilaf. I'm daring to say that is the healthiest pilaf. It's so good I just lost my balance. That's done. Let's check on the meatloaf. I think it's done also. All right, check out this deliciously glazed loaf of meat, you guys. That ketchup glaze is looking nice and sticky and shiny, and I think it's done, but there's only one way to tell. I'm gonna take my probe thermometer here, that has the timer and the thermometer piece attached to it, and then stick it right in the middle. And check it out, the internal temperature is just about 160, so it's done. Now because the ground turkey is super lean, if you keep cooking, it's gonna get really dry and bland. If you don't have one of these probe thermometers, I'll put the link down below in the description box. It's great for meatloafs, thick cuts of steak, and roasts. Definitely get it because you don't wanna overcook this bad boy. That'd be a sin. I'm gonna let it cool down for about 20 minutes because if I cut into it right now, it's gonna be kind of loose and fall apart. And then, yes, we'll build the meal prep containers and I'll eat. Glass meal prep containers in check. Seriously good looking comfort meal prep for weight loss, looking bomb.com. So let's grab this end piece right here. Look at that, you guys. Just flecked with all those amazing vegetables. Tuck that into the corner right there. And then grab a big old scoop of cauliflower rice pilaf and put that in the container too. All 5 containers are prepped and looking damn fine if I do say so myself. Now I cannot resist any longer. I'm gonna tuck into a piece. Yum. You guys, there is insane flavor going on in there. The fact that this is weight loss meal prep with meatloaf and rice is off the charts. The ketchup glaze, it's kind of tangy, sweet, and spicy. And the vegetables and the turkey are sweet, savory, and the perfect consistency. The recipe for this, along with the storage instructions and reheating, are down below, along with the full macros. And if you want to use the kitchen gear that I use for this recipe, I have a list down there too. If you want to see 2 more recipes, check out the ones below me. Don't forget to suggest what videos you want to see coming up in the near future. I'll see you next week. Until then, #keep on cooking.